Good morning again. I decided to come out to the shop this morning and see if I could do something with this vise. Since I tried to square up a block in the last video, which wasn't successful actually, I decided to maybe try to do something about it. So at this point, the three pieces for the vise are just as is, as they came out of the mill. So this morning, I'm going to take a look at it roughly. I'm not going to get into using the dial indicator or anything at this point, but I'm going to roughly take a look at it and see what I might be able to do to help the situation. Mainly the problem being that the work tends to lift up on the back side in both vises that I built. So this one's a little bit better, but it's still no cigar. So I need to try to do something about that, and so I'm going to start off with something quick and dirty, and then move forward and let the situation become more refined as it needs to be. So anyway, this morning I'm going to turn the viewer around here so I can see what I'm doing. And so there we go. So you're zoomed in on the vise a little bit here, and you can see my hands. So I already took a look at this. So this is not my first peek, but I just mounted this and snugged down these two hold downs in the back of the vise here. And all I did was, at this point, is just take a 1, 2, 3 block. This 1, 2, 3 block I haven't checked for accuracy, but generally these things are pretty close. So the smallest, as I mentioned before, the smallest feeler gauge I have is 1.5 thousandths. So I just took a feeler gauge and look at that. The feeler gauge will actually go in there, at least at the top. Of course, that's all the further it goes down, but that's all it takes, So then I took the block and I rocked it to see if I could feel any play in it. And sure enough, it's very minute amount of play, but there is some play in it. So if I can feel it, that's not good. If I try to put the feeler gauge in on this corner over here, I got to hold the block tight. It really doesn't go in there, but it does go in over here on this corner, just barely. Maybe that's enough, because when you tighten up the work in the vise, maybe it just rocks up a little bit. Doesn't take much. And so what I'm going to do about that this morning, to begin with, is I'm going to take this off here. And I'm going to put some dye on the granite block, and I'm going to see if I can get the bottom. To begin with, I'm going to see if I can get the bottom of this back jaw. I'm going to see if I can get it flat. That's what my goal is, to get that flat. Then at that point, I can recheck this face and see where I'm at. And the other thing that I did is, I had some problem with these T-slots not going back far enough. So what I did was I made some special T-nuts. And actually I gained at least a half an inch, if not an inch. So that helps. As you can see, the T-slots go all the way back now to the back of the slot. So that should help get the distance between where I start the cut and the end of the cut, so it's not reaching so far. So that helps a little bit. So anyway, this video is going to be a little chopped up because I'm going to do some different operations, and I just can't flow through it. I'm going to have to set the camera up. The granite block's right here, actually, but I need to move the camera to a different position for some scraping work, and also I need to move it over to the mill, because what I'm going to do is, once I get the base of this piece scraped flat, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in the mill and run the face mill across the face itself of the jaw and see if I can improve that just slightly. If not, then nothing lost. But anyway, we're talking about 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch, so we're not talking about much. So anyway, I'm going to go off now and set up a place where I can begin scraping this surface down here, and then we'll move ahead from there. So anyway, what I'll do is shut the camera off from time to time, and then just start it up again. So anyway, so there'll be breaks in the video. Okay, so I'll bring you back in a few. Okay, just a few minutes later, and I've set this block up in the vise, and so I'm gonna scrape on it a little bit, and we're getting it I'm just roughing up the surface a little bit to begin with. Let's see if I can find a brush here. So hopefully the viewer is okay. You can see what's going on. Should be pretty easy just to get it flat. I'm not worried about points at this stage of the game. I'm mostly concerned about getting it so it sits flat against the base. And that, I'm sure of that fact. Okay, so I've made a pass in both directions. I like using a little solvent on here. I like to use this, one of these bottles of Ronson's lighter fuel. It lasts a long time. So, and it evaporates fast. So Just to stone the surface a little bit, make sure there's no burrs. Kind of stone the edges a little bit too. Well, there we go. So we'll take it out of the vise and glue it up a little bit on the granite stone over here. Make sure it's cleaned off good. Give it a rub. Well, here we go. So actually it's probably sitting flat on the base right now. You can see in the video that the edges are high. So we've got to start off with those areas along the two edges and bring it in towards the center. But basically it's probably sitting pretty flat. So we'll put it back in and go again. So it's not the best table for doing this, but it does work. I am used to it, so it's not very solid. We'll leave this spot alone. Looks like it's a little low right there. Well, there we go. Give it another rub. See if we accomplished anything. Just make sure we clean it off good. Well, looks like we're about in the same place. We got some high spots on the edges again. So hopefully we can start bringing that in. It may take a few passes. Okay, that's it. Should go pretty quick. take it over to the granite plate and give it another rub. Looks like the two outer corners are high. Looks like we've accomplished a little bit. We got one edge that's still high, pretty much along the entire distance of it. And for some reason it doesn't hinge in the middle at all. It hinges on both ends. So we know we got a ways to go. Okay. Wipe it off. Make sure it's cleaned off. Maybe try to get some stuff running down there. We'll give it another rub. I might mention at this point the hinging has changed. Seems to hinge towards the center again. So you can see now there's some blue, some little spots of blue in the center, still high on the edges, but we're moving in the right direction, slowly but surely. I've included enough scraping in this video. I'm going to have to fast forward through part of that. So I'll bring you back when what I'm going to do next, once I get this flat, which probably is not too many more passes, scraping passes. I'm going to take the camera over to the mill, and I'm going to put this back in the mill and just take off 1 or 2 thousandths on it. And then we'll bring it back over to the shaper and see where we're at before we do any scraping on the front of the jaw. So anyway, I'm going to call off for a second now. I'll bring you back in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, we're over at the mill. It's about 10 minutes later, I guess, something like that. So that's good enough. It's flat. You know, we're not worried about points at this point. It just needs to lay flat against the base. So we got, I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, it only took another, I think I only made 2 passes after I shut the camera off last time. So I'm going to wipe that die off there, and I'm going to stick it in the mill, and I'm going to take off maybe 2 thousandths or something. Depends. So we're going to put the just the side we just scraped against the front jaw of the vise, and we're going to tighten the vise up. We're not going to do anything special. We'll take a look at it and see how it's looking. But it looks like it's laying dead flat against there. We're down pretty tight here, so we need to come up a little bit. And let's engage the power feed, I guess. Well, that may not be, maybe what I better do is put 1 parallel under that, just to be sure. Well, let's bring the thing up a little bit. If I can find one little short parallel, one little small parallel to put under there. Can't see, but looks like that's got it. Okay. That looks good. Maybe make sure it's down tight against there, huh? So we can tap it a little bit. I don't know if I can get in there to tap it or not. Feels like it's down pretty solid. All right. Turn on the DTI. Let's see here. There we go. That's all we need to do in the mill. If I can find a chip brush around here. That looks okay. Let's pull it back out of the vise. So I don't know if you can see that, but the finish looks pretty good with that face mill. So we'll see where we're at. Take the camera back over to the shaper now and take a look at it. See if we've made any improvements or not. So those are the two faces we're concerned about. The base and the jaw. So take you back over to the shaper now. Okay, we're back over at the shaper. So we've scraped. Let me turn this around so I can see what I'm doing. So we scraped the bottom and we've run the face mill across the face. So I'm not sure if we've made any progress or not, but let's so I'm going to make sure that, let me move this, make sure that we don't have any chips under here or anything. That looks pretty good, looks clean enough. Put this back on the shaper. Nope, we got a bunch of chips in there. Well, I guess I better do something about that. Turn the compressor on, we're going to make a little noise for a minute here. Either. Okay, so we've made progress. I'll tell you right off the bat. At least in the right direction, I think. The 1,500 feeler gauge will not go in there anymore, and the block will not move. Let me check the bottom edge. That's what. It won't go in there either. We may have solved the problem. Simple as that. Maybe we should scrape in this face, but at this point, I think maybe we've done enough and we can probably give it a try. See what happens. This video is probably getting too long now, so but that said, we'll set back up and give it a try, and hopefully before I post this video I'll be able to tell you what happened. But that may be just all we need to do right there. Simple as that. I don't have anything else that, without setting up the digital dial indicator. If I shove this against here tight, that says that we can get this feeler gauge started across in the back here a little bit. Not a little bit, not much. Right there we can. But that could be a low spot in the base. Basically all along here it doesn't go under. I don't know how precision ground that thing is. Never checked it. Let's shove this against there tight and check the 1, 2, 3 block. It will not go under there with the 1, 2, 3 block. I think we've accomplished what we needed to accomplish. So, thanks for watching. We'll post another update to this vise build in the future, and hopefully we can get this to cut us a nice square block, better than the shaper, hopefully. So I'll call off now and post this video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.